Welcome back, dear listeners, to Fright or Flight, the podcast where we rank, recap, and review every horror movie in a given franchise.
I'm Jumpscare Gerald or Geraldine, the Fright of the podcast.
And I'm Frankie, the Flight of the podcast.
And today we're talking 2012's Dark Shadows, continuing our Tim Burton season.
Geraldine, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I'm excited to cover this movie. It's actually one of my favorite ones. It's, I haven't seen a bunch of these. Mm-hmm. This is one I've seen. And I don't know why, but it's one that I enjoy a lot. Like, what's your history with the movie?
Well, I mean, I saw it when it came out back in the day. I don't think I saw it in theaters. I think we rented it or something. I don't remember specifically. It's been a while. It's been almost 12 years.
Right.
So I'm like, but I just remember watching it with my family and it being a good time. I remember being young enough that my mom thinks that, the sexual innuendos and stuff like that is very awkward. So she was like, oh my God. But I was like, 2012, I was roughly 14, potentially 13, 14 years old. So it's not like I was unaware of those innuendos, but she just was very uncomfortable with it. And but I remember thinking that this movie was very funny. It's way funnier than I remembered.
It is so funny, but you're totally right about the sexual innuendos. Like, there's so much of that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm saying innuendo. It's pretty explicit.
It's pretty explicit, but so I guess my mom had every right to be like, "Oh my God, this is so embarrassing to watch with you. Oh my God, this is like so sketch." But in my brain, I'm like, it's fine.
How old are you?
13, 14.
13, 14?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, I think a lot of us have had that situation where, like, the way Bailey says it always cracks me up because it's no matter what we're watching, if we're watching it, like, in the living room, her parents will walk in
right at the explicit parts.
The most awkward moment. Yep. It's usually even not reflective of the show at all.
Yeah,
like the show, this is the one scene in the whole season that's like this.
So I watched American Horror Story, and that show has a lot of sexual stuff. And it just so happens that my mom walked in when I was watching season 5, episode 1 of Hotel, and that episode in particular is the most sexual. That, like, I would say, well, one of the most sexual ones, especially in all of the seasons. And my mom happened to walk in during one of those explicit. It was almost like a sexual assault type of scene too, because sometimes they do that in American Horror Story. Don't understand it, but it's the thing. And my mom was like, "What are you watching?" And I was like, "Mom, you walked in on the wrong part. I can't help it." And I was like, "What are you going to walk back in here? Like, I just need to pause this so that I can know when to pause or something." And she was like,
"Well, if it's a movie that's known for being explicit like that, would you be able to watch it with your mom, or was like this? Because I know different people have different relationships. Because I know, like, for example, a book that was popular about a decade ago is like 50 Shades of Grey.
Oh yeah.
So like, if the mother-daughter, some mother and daughters, they will bond over like, oh, we both like this book series. We'll go watch the movies together.
As an adult, I can have those conversations with my mom now and be like, "Oh my God, I watched True Blood. That show is so good. All of the characters are so like beautiful, and all the guys are so hot. Oh my gosh!" And like, we can bond over it, but we would never watch it. We would never sit down and watch it together.
Yeah. Too awkward.
Yeah, way too awkward. Like, we can have conversations about it, but like, that's one thing that like I love this one series that we'll eventually get to, that is a horror series. My mom, we didn't watch it together or anything, but she was like, "I'm not going to watch that one with you." And I was like, "Oh, okay, whatever." And so she didn't want to go to the theaters to watch it with us because she was scared that it would be like super explicit, and it wasn't. And I was like, "You missed out, so whatever."
Well, what is this movie about, Geraldine?
Well, this movie is in the 18th century Maine. So here we are in New England. Fun. Barnabas Collins, played by Johnny Depp, presides over the town of Collinsport, a rich and powerful playboy. Barnabas seals his own doom when he breaks the heart of a witch named Angelique, played by Eva Green. Angelique turns Barnabas into a vampire and buries him alive. 2 centuries later, Barnabas escapes from his tomb and finds 1972 Collinsport, a very different place. His once grand estate has fallen into ruin, and the dysfunctional remnants of his family have fared little better.
What a beautiful setting, right? 1970s.
Yeah.
We're in like Maine. We're like in this poor, beautiful little town.
Love it.
Very whimsical Tim Burton style, the way it's like portrayed.
Yeah.
The little city. Saying that, by the way, Geraldine, you're wearing beautiful makeup to like kind of emphasize the times. Yeah.
I love this era of makeup and hair. I don't know. It was just very fun. But it's almost like we talked about pre-podcast before we recorded that 1960 fashion and 1970 fashion are both in their own kind of scheme, but in the early 70s and late 60s, it was almost like there was this merging period where it was like a combination of the two, or it wasn't quite like completely moved over. So the 70s is just so fun for all of the bright colors and bold looks, and I love it. It's just so much fun.
You know, it's so interesting too, because I don't know if you know, but this movie, Dark Shadows, it was originally a soap opera.
I did know this. I have not seen the original at all. I know that you can watch it on Prime through Freevee right now. So if you are interested in going back in time to watch it, you should do it.
It originally ran on ABC from 1966 to 1971. So I mean, like, in the movie, it's like, oh, we're trying to make everything look 60s, 70s. But when it was coming out, that was just the time.
Yeah. Perfect.
So it wasn't like a period piece or anything. It featured all the like horrible and mysterious things that were happening to the Collins in Collinsport, Maine. Something that may be surprising to some people. The show it's based off of didn't originally start with the vampire. It started completely without Barnabas Collins, but it became popular once he was featured in it, like 10 months after it had premiered.
Wow.
Yeah. It also had ghosts, werewolves, zombies. It had witches, warlocks. It had time travel in it, including like episodes about parallel universes.
I love that stuff.
Isn't that so like? To me, when I learned that, I just thought about like Doctor Who, and this is basically a show that lets you like interact with all these different like concepts in the genre. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, it's kind of like Twilight Zone. Twilight Zone is so beautiful. It's like
Doctor Who for me is what I feel.
I'm a big fan of Twilight Zone, and that show just, they do all kinds of crazy things, and they tamper with all kinds of monsters and fears. So that's just so fun to me, because that just sounds like it's like that, but featuring a family instead, and instead of different stories each time.
Yeah, it's super cool. All the characters are based off of, you know, characters that were in the show, as well as even the looks. I mean, Johnny Depp's character, Barnabas Collins, his hair is made to look similar to the portrayal of the same character in the show, who was played by Jonathan Frid, who actually has a small cameo.
Really?
Yeah, he unfortunately he passed away, I think, about a year after the movie premiered, but at least he got to be a part of it, which is really cool. Along with him, a small company of actors each played many roles. As actors came and went, some characters were played by more than one actor, kind of like how they do American Horror Story. Which is super cool. I love that in general. You know, you get to build a community with your fellow actors and actresses, and I'm never thrown off by seeing like, oh, wasn't that guy the other guy or whatever.
I kind of love that sometimes, if we're like, they played this person, but then they're like, that's a different person now. And you're like, oh, okay.
You just accept it, yeah. It had all the hallmarks of any other soap opera. It had melodramatic performances and, of course, several dramatic plot twists that soap operas are known for. And it was very successful, and it spawned off a media franchise that came out. They came out with 2 other movies before this one. Oddly enough, still portrayed by the Barnabas is still portrayed by the same actor from the TV show.
I love that.
And he was in the 1970 movie and its sequel in 71. They did remake the show in the early 90s on NBC. Okay. It did not last long, but I did watch like a little commercial ad for it, and it looked great. So I don't know if people just didn't watch it or what, but unfortunately, about, I don't know how long is that, like 15 years later, we got this movie made by Tim Burton that we're covering today. Which,
it's kind of weird how that stuff happens. Like we mentioned when we talked about Sweeney Todd last week, like Stephen Sondheim had made the musical or whatever I think it was late 70s. Had made this wonderful musical, and then had been approached multiple times by multiple directors. They wanted to like make a film adaptation of this musical. He said no to so many people, and it's like, I wonder what the spark was that really made him say yes to Tim Burton in 2007. Like, that's just really weird to me, because it's almost like that. It's like, that's a really long time to go between, you know, that adaptation that we get here. But I love it because it's so bright and colorful. like even though it's dark, like most of the tone is dark and the story is in like gloomy Maine and stuff like that. I love it, love it, love it. It's just very great aesthetics, but it's also like they have those bold colors. Like even if they're pale with blonde hair, like bleach blonde hair, they still have like a pop of red on their face.
I agree. And talking about it like being made, Johnny Depp has actually had an interest in Dark Shadows, the television show, for a long time. He said it was a dream to portray Barnabas Collins and ended up persuading Tim Burton to direct. So this is one of the ones where Johnny Depp was a person that was primarily interested. And of course he plays our main character, Barnabas Collins, as another collaboration between the two, the actor and the director. Okay. As we've seen with the last movie we covered. We also get Eva Green, as you mentioned earlier, as Angelique Bouchard. Bouchard. Well, she did a lot of the sexual stuff was coming from her.
She's funny enough. I love Eva Green. She is in a lot of great movies, TV shows, you name it, and she is always sexualized. And I don't know if it's like something that she likes to do for herself, and if so, more power to her. Because I'm okay. It's fine, and I think she's definitely a beautiful woman. So it's not like it's like an eyesore or anything, but it's like I just wonder if that's like her choice in the matter, or if that's just unfortunately what roles that she gets offered. But like she was in a TV show called Penny Dreadful, very fun. It's literally about the Penny Dreadful tales. So it's really, really cool. You'd have to watch to really see. She does great performances in that. And then she's in Sin City, which those movies are primarily black and white with like pops of color.
Ooh, cool.
Very cool set of series. I think it showed her boobs like a bajillion times in the second movie. And I was like, okay.
I really like the joke that they played on in this, where like a third or 2/3 of the way into the movie, she's trying to seduce Barnabas again, and he's like, "What are you gonna do? A hex? A curse? Another curse?" And then she's like, "No," and just like unbuttons her shirt, and he's like, "Oh, yeah, love that scene." So funny.
This movie is just so funny.
It is really funny. We also get Bella Heathcote playing a dual role. Yes. Both Victoria Winters and Josette, the love interest of Barnabas. Michelle Pfeiffer's in this movie. She plays Elizabeth Collins. Michelle Pfeiffer, when she heard that there was going to be an adaptation of the television show Dark Shadows, she actually called up Tim Burton to ask him to be part of the movie because she loved the show.
Well, she's also worked with Tim Burton before in the Batman series.
Yeah, that's right.
Which, don't kill me, I've not watched. I know that they're great versions.
She is so great. She's Catwoman, right?
Yeah, she is.
Yeah, she is so great as Catwoman.
I absolutely love Michelle Pfeiffer in general. Like, she's just a phenomenal actress. So seeing her, I was like, it's always just so great to see her in anything where I'm like, ah.
Something that I just found out about like an hour ago when I was doing the outline for this episode is that this movie has Helena Bonham Carter in it.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
You didn't realize that? You were looking at her face.
While I was watching the movie, I did not recognize her whatsoever.
How do you not recognize her face?
I didn't.
I think that she's so uniquely beautiful. Like, she doesn't look so conventional, but like, I don't know. To me, she just is always just so iconic. I just recognize her instantly when she's in anything.
Maybe I will after we're done covering all these Tim Burton movies because she's in so many of them.
She's been in
two,
I guess. Yeah. Okay, yeah. But I mean,
and she looks different from the last one. Come on, she doesn't look the same as in Sweeney Todd.
Yeah, but I mean, she's got the same face.
Well, anyway, she's playing a Dr. Julia Hoffman.
Yeah. Dr. Julia Hoffman.
Yeah, she's like a psychologist, but she also seems to have a lot of...
Like a drunk psychiatrist.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. Fun character, huh?
Very fun. I like her character. Especially for the 70s, though. Everyone was drinking, especially if you watch Mad Men. Love that TV show. Everyone drank all the time. They drank so much that you're like, does anyone drink water? Well, are they hydrating?
I heard like during like the First World War, like water wouldn't like it'd get dirty or whatever, so they all just drank alcohol.
But that was in the 70s, though.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like, we historically have,
Well, everyone's historically had a drinking problem. I mean, the prohibition, all of this stuff. I mean, yeah. Drinking, it's as Nick Miller from New Girl states, rubbing alcohol is for outside wounds, and drinking alcohol is for inside wounds.
Yeah, do you take that to heart?
No, I don't. But it's funny.
All right, we got Johnny Lee Miller playing Roger Collins, who is kind of like a crappy dad.
Sleazeball is what he is.
Yeah, I mean, what do you expect, right? We also get Chloe Grace Moretz as Carolyn Stoddard.
Love Chloe Grace Moretz.
She's great. I got introduced to her through Kick-Ass. She's Hit Girl.
I actually have never seen those movies.
I enjoy those movies. I like them quite a bit.
I think I would enjoy them. I just have not had the pleasure of watching them myself. But I've seen Chloe Grace Moretz in so many things. She's been acting since she was a very, very, very young child.
That's true.
So it's very nice to see her continue with her roles because I think she's a great actress as well.
Me too. I mean, she was a voice for an animated movie that me and Bailey really liked called Nimona that came out. Oh. She played the lead role, Nimona, a year or two ago on Netflix. It's really good. I recommend it. Everybody should go watch it. Okay. And we also have a Gullen McGrath playing David Collins, a little tiny boy.
Well, he does great.
Who I can only imagine is related by some point.
Oh my God.
To your husband.
He did kind of, I did have that thought when I was watching it. I was like, oh, it kind of looks like what our child would be like.
Did you mention it to your husband?
No, he's not my husband.
No. So here's some evidence on screen, and here's some more evidence.
Oh my God.
You're telling me this isn't childhood photos?
Yeah, I can actually show you childhood photos that I have on my phone.
I bet it looked just like this.
They don't. He actually had blonde hair as a child, believe it or not.
I don't believe it. But I thought the little kid gave a great performance,
he did.
Honestly, especially for his age.
I had no idea what you were needing his photos for, and now that's just goofy.
I mean, you can ask anybody. Like Bailey, she's known for doing facial analysis and comparison. What do you think, Bailey, on the considerable amount of comparison that can be made between these two photos?
I see where you're coming from. The hair. The
face, the eyes, the nose, the cheeks.
They're similar.
Mm-hmm. Well, maybe he has some famous friends in his life.
As you know, Patrick is also from the Northeast.
He is from the Northeast, yeah.
Maybe he's related to the Collinses.
He has to be. And last but not least, we have Jackie Earle Haley playing Willie Loomis, kind of like a groundskeeper, butler of the Collins estate. Which I want my own estate.
I would love my own estate.
I want a
house with 200 rooms.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Mm-hmm. That's my dream home. That whole home. I would literally get the long, dramatic robes and just run through the house and be like, and just like fall on like a Chase lounge chair.
A settee. Yeah.
I would be like, my husband hasn't returned from the war. Things like that.
Yeah.
My life is in ruin, and then you're in this big home.
Well, if I ever do have an estate, I'll reach out to you, and if you want to be one of the servants, I'd let you apply for the job.
This isn't Downton Abbey.
And give you priority. You can be
You've been
one
watching too much of that.
I love that show. It's a beautiful show.
It's a beautiful show. I love that show as well.
Talking a bit about the production for this movie, we get Danny Elfman, who comes back to compose the score for the movie, as does frequent collaborator and costume designer Colleen Atwood, who, by the way, has been nominated for the Academy Award for Best Costume Design 12 times. She's won 4 of them, one for Chicago, Memoirs of a Geisha, Alice in Wonderland, and Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, which, by the way, was the first Harry Potter movie to ever win an Academy Award.
That is shocking.
And it's all because of Colleen Atwood.
Colleen Atwood is great, and she's known to work with, Tim Burton. We actually discussed Colleen Atwood in Sweeney Todd. I believe we may have touched on her a little bit. If not, I had meant to. So if I did not, it was in my head or written down. But she does a lot of the costume design, it seems, for Tim Burton, which... Great job. Yeah,
she's amazing. She does amazing work. Also on the team is French cinematographer Bruno Dabanel, known for his work on Amélie.
I love that movie. It's one of my favorite movies
ever. Beautiful. Goes to show he's a great cinematographer. He's done A Very Long Engagement and Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince.
So much Harry Potter overlap.
Harry Potter. Where's the Tim Burton Harry Potter? On a budget of $150 million, this film only grossed $79 million in the U.S.
That is so disappointing.
So in the U.S., it's only made half its budget during its entire run.
Where were the people?
Yeah. Well,
why didn't you show up?
I'm going to tell you here in a second why. Fortunately, internationally, in other territories, it grossed $165 million. So everybody else showed up twice as much as we did here in the States for a total of $245 million.
Okay, great. So it made its money back and more.
It made its money back. It's more. Also, by the way, Dark Shadows was released the weekend after the Avengers movie was released.
Yikes. Bad.
A movie who has to this date grossed $1 billion and $500,000 buckaroonies. So...
disappointing because it's hard to compete with those.
It really is. I mean, the first Avengers movie, that was bonkers big. But what are you going to do,
Right, absolutely.
Well, I like Dark Shadows a lot more than the Avengers.
Ooh.
Hot take.
What about Joss Whedon?
So?
What about him? I don't like him.
I like Joss Whedon's work in general, but I just...
Yeah, he's an awful man.
I don't like how he treats women in his movies.
Yeah, a lot of actresses have come out against him saying
he always has
things.
some guy fall on her boobs, and it's like a big gag in every one of his movies, and I'm tired of it.
He's kind of blacklisted right now.
I did not know this. I have one of... I actually own, I think he directed it. It was the Much Ado About Nothing adaptation of William Shakespeare. It's one of my favorite ever Shakespeare plays. And I love it because it's shot in all black and white, which I'm a sucker for. Put a movie in all black and white, I'm there. I'm like, I don't care what it is. Black and white, you got me in the seats, ready to go.
It's ironic because he's known for, movies are about women. And shows about women.
Because Much Ado About Nothing is
Buffy,
about
the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think I have heard some things because I didn't know that he was related to that. But I know people have come out recently talking about some of the Buffy, the Vampire Slayer things that happened on set. And I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, apparently he's a crappy person. But his movie made a bunch of money, baby. Along with the disappointing box office here in the States, it also was panned critically in reviews here in the States. It received mixed reviews, including a 35% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Wow.
35?
And
why so low?
Well, that's the critic score. The audience score?
Way high.
45%. Still pretty bad.
Why so low?
No, people weren't.
So good.
You know what? People were probably loved the show. It was probably a lot of people who loved the show who came out to see it.
I don't think so. I think people just didn't like it.
I bet they were like, it's too campy.
Well, it got a 55 out of 100 on Metacritic. Reasons why people didn't like it. Some people felt that the film lacked a focus of consistent plot and that some of the jokes fell flat.
What?
Some claimed that Burton and Depp's collaborations had become tired. We've seen too many of them. We've reached the end of this.
I see. This is the beginning of counterculture.
This is the beginning of counterculture.
It is. They're like, I must counter the popular culture.
Many of these same critics, however, noted the film's visual style was impressive.
Yeah.
Which is hard to fall. I mean, no matter how much negative feelings are about his movies, they're usually always good on his visuals.
Yeah. I mean, let's be honest. The man has a vision, and he makes it happen. He makes it work. And I think that, to me, even revisiting this movie has really good rewatch capability. There's not a lot of movies that do that for me. Well, okay, I take that back. There are a lot of movies that do that for me. But this is one of them that, I enjoyed watching and I would continue to rewatch. A lot of Tim Burton's films are like that for me. I would rewatch and rewatch and rewatch until I get sick of them. Mm-hmm. That's just how I was growing up with them. I mean, I had Nightmare Before Christmas on repeat. And I know that he wasn't the director of that one, but he, was behind the scenes of it.
Well, what would you have to say about it? In response to that, saying that that some of the jokes felt flat, and I don't
agree with it. I think the jokes were really funny. I don't think the jokes fell flat at all for me. I thought they were really funny, really on the nose. I mean, they weren't trying to hide the jokes at all. I think that, the humor worked for me a lot though. But I'm not hard to please when it comes to that stuff. Mm-hmm. I like really dry humor. I like humor that's almost dark humor in between. I like stupid humor in between. I mean, this humor was campy and it was just fun.
I agree. It was really campy. It was really fun. For me, one of my biggest critiques of the film, it is very slow to start. I feel like we get half an hour of exposition of seeing Victoria come to the estate. And it's, just a whole journey to begin with. It only lasts 3 to 5 minutes, but it's I'm not learning anything about this character. I'm not
but it does pay off though. You do learn a lot about her character.
I agree. I think, after we get everything going, I feel like it really does do a good job of keeping me entertained, but it just takes a minute to get there.
Well, I don't mind a slow burn, a slow start to a movie. Once they put the oil on the wheels and everything starts turning smoothly, then it's okay, here we go.
Did you have a favorite family member in the movie?
Not necessarily a family member. I guess he would be part of the family. He was under the Collins house. Was Willie. Willie Loomis is my favorite. He is so funny.
He is really funny in this.
Because he's my favorite part. I told Patrick, I was like, you gotta watch this part. It's funny as fuck. And there was a part where he was like, what time, like what month is it? He goes, it's October. As far as pumpkins. It's just stupid, but it really got me. I don't know why.
It's funny. I mean, there's like dry humor moments like that scattered throughout the movie, and I really enjoy. I do like his character a lot. He looks so familiar to me. I wonder what else I've seen him in.
Okay, he's been, I don't know all of his filmography, but he was also in the controversial 2013 version of, or 2010, I always forget which year, of Nightmare on Elm Street. And he did get a lot of flack for that. We'll eventually delve into that one whenever we get there. But, I mean, that's what I know him from. And he did do a good job with what he had. But...
Or even like Barnabas. Like his character.
Oh, I love Barnabas.
I like him a lot. I wish he was funnier.
Oh, no. I love his humor. I think it's perfect. I
like it too. I just... It doesn't... Like, he comes out of his cage, right? He comes out of the box that he's trapped in. And he kills a bunch of people. And... he has like this short interaction of like seeing a light and thinking that it's the devil, right? And like facing his destiny here. And it's funny when the car like flies by and starts passing him, but it kind of ends there. It's funny for a second and then it's not funny. The humor's over. I thought the whole like McDonald's reveal of Mistopheles or whatever, it's really funny, but I feel like the pacing for me is what doesn't work in this movie. And I don't know if it comes from the editing. I think scenes are held on for too long, and it makes the movie drag for me. And there's just so much that I would enjoy more if it was cut. And I think this movie could be way tighter, and I wish the humor was consistent. I feel like there's times where I'm not sure like how serious this is, because sometimes I feel like
it's serious at all.
Well, to me, it feels like the movie takes itself seriously at moments. And
well, I guess in the only regard I think that is taken seriously at all in this movie is specifically with Victoria's story. That's it.
For me, it's like the small interactions, like I just said, like even the light or whatever that he sees in the road, like they kind of do like a Hocus Pocus reference when he touches the asphalt on the road, and it's like, what kind of river is this?
He doesn't say river, but
he says something.
He said curious terrain.
Yeah, exactly, and I think that's funny, but then like. I just feel it's serious and to me with him the most, where like what he takes seriously, what's his motive, what's important to him.
But I mean, think about where he came from, the time period. They took themselves and took everything seriously, and I think that's why it's funny is that it doesn't fit in, because here you have people who are like, life is not that serious, and then he's like.
Yeah, but see, that's only half of the time it's a joke. And I like it when it's a joke. They do the fish out of the water trope, right? Like, this is not where I'm from, so, like, McDonald's, I think, is this demon thing or whatever. And that's funny to me. And I would have liked to see more of that.
I just think that if they did more of those silly little jokes, that actually we would like the movie less. That's my personal opinion.
I think so,
because
too.
I think the little jokes, they're funny in the moment, but I think if the entire film is made up of them, it cheapens the film.
I could see that, because to me it kind of gets that way at the end of the movie, where we finally see Barnabas and Angelique go at it with each other at the estate, where they're kind of flinging each other around. That old lady maid cleans him off after he's been vomited on. And then
Miss Johnson.
Yeah, and especially one of the parts where we find out that Carolyn is a wolf. Is a werewolf,
rather.
And I love her line. Her line's a great line. And she's like, yeah, I'm a werewolf. Let's not make a big deal about it. And then she turns to the camera and says, wolf.
I don't like that part.
I love that part.
I hate it, but it's so...
I'm a werewolf, okay? Let's not make a big deal of it. Woof.
Like, unequivocally teenager.
Yeah,
I love it. It reminds you of do your thing, cuz.
I knew you would like that part.
Yeah.
I also think that they had the opportunity to make her look way cooler than they did.
Me too.
I didn't like the way that they made her look.
And also felt like all of that kind of stuff was thrown on to the end. Like, she's porcelain.
I love that look, though. It's
Me
very
too,
cool.
but it's like
also,
I didn't get it featured throughout the rest of it.
It did give me Coraline Other Mother vibes.
Mm-hmm. I love the humor that was involved in the movie. The charm for me in this movie, I felt like I could have gotten a whole TV show out of this. My personal...
But I mean, I wouldn't want to watch a whole TV show of this remade. I wouldn't, personally.
I would. Here's my perspective. Okay. This movie, Dark Shadows, is a delightful movie. I feel like it's bursting at the seams with character, charm, charisma, and chemistry. I feel like all the actors that were chosen for this, they all, by the end of the movie, feel like a genuine family. And that's why I could see them go through like week after week of situations being thrown at them. Like the movie even almost ends like it's going to have like a sequel to it or whatever.
No, it does. It definitely does add like the way that they end it. I actually wrote that down, that I was like, they end this in such a good way that we could get a sequel. Tim Burton, I mean, if you're going to do that, I mean, because like, you know, because people were like, Beetlejuice wasn't needed, right? And he didn't end it in a way that a sequel like it would have made sense, but they made it make sense,
right?
And they made it work. But to me, this movie, you end it perfectly leading up to a sequel, and we don't get a sequel.
Well, he says he didn't end it so it can look like there's a sequel to be made. He said he ended it that way because it's based off of soap operas, and soap operas always had like cliffhangers and stuff like this.
Well,
so he wanted to fit the same kind of structure, but that he has no intentions of making a sequel.
I mean, that's kind of stupid to me.
I agree. He hates sequels. The man did, like, we got Beetlejuice.
Well, he also did that with Batman. I mean, he did 2 Batman movies, didn't he? Did he not?
Yeah, but it was like a contractual obligation.
Doesn't matter to me. I'm like, chill out. It's not that big of a deal, man. Just make a fucking sequel. Yeah. Especially if the fans want it. I don't understand what the hate is. Like, we're your fans. We love your art. We want to consume your art. And you're being like, you guys want it too much. No.
Well, he doesn't owe it to us, you know. It's like
he doesn't owe it to us. I mean, yeah, that's your prerogative as an artist, but it's like if it's in demand, I just don't understand as an artist why you would not be driven to be like, oh yeah, they want that. That'd be a great idea because, like in Saw, like you mentioned, they were so interactive with their fans that they were like, oh man, this is really good. We didn't think about that, and then they add that stuff that the fans suggested into the movies and
stuff.
That's
cool, right?
And that's really cool. It's like they value their audience, and it doesn't feel like he values us. He makes it for him, and that's fine because.
Well, that's how you keep yourself from being corrupted. If you're always trying to please everybody and give them what they want.
But I mean, Saw is still such a successful franchise, and we have an 11th film coming out, and they're also re-releasing the first one in theaters.
Oh, you saw that? Yeah.
I did see that. So it's like I just don't understand. Why would you not care? I mean, because this is like. Not inspirational, but it's inspiring generations to come. Like whenever our generation is having our children and stuff, and they get older, we can show these movies to them, and then they can show them to their future children, and the cycle continues. To me, that's what makes good art, and that you can continue to influence people. I just don't understand.
Yeah, well, we can always pass on what we have. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I just don't understand why. I mean, because he came out of like, I mean, not really retirement or anything, but he, came out of nowhere and was like, yeah, I'm doing, Wednesday show. And we're like, oh, okay, cool. And then now he's doing a second season of it. And then he's like, Beetlejuice, cool. But he didn't sign on to it until like late in the game too. He was like, I didn't sign up to do that.
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. I would love a Darker Shadows.
Oh, that would be so fun.
Give me Dark Shadows too.
I would love that. And I mean, I know people have qualms about Johnny Depp, but we would have to have Johnny Depp as Barnabas Collins. I wouldn't want to see anybody else.
That's perfectly fine with me. I mean, it's just, for me, this movie, when it shines like a diamond. It is so good.
Very
and
good.
That's why I'm talking about would love to see a sequel, because I want to see more of these guys. Like, I really, by the end, I felt like I had a connection with all the characters, which I didn't expect to have from the beginning. It'd be
really fun to see, like, this conflict. Like, bring back Helena Bonham Carter. Hopefully they don't have beef. They co-parent. like, please just bring her back as Dr. Julia Hoffman post death as a vampire, just stuck in the water. But she comes back to haunt Barnabas and Victoria or Josette, because obviously she's at the end. She's like, Josette. She corrects him, and I'm like, oh, I guess weird. Maybe she's been Josette the whole time. I don't know.
That is strange, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm like, so what happened to Victoria?
I guess, I mean,
what's up with her lived experience?
I mean, it's weird, though, because she sees Josette dead.
And she's like, help me.
Yeah, exactly. But so I guess she's also named Josette because we see her change her name. Like, she comes up with the name Veronica Winter or Victoria Winters at the very beginning. She comes up with that name.
Oh, does she?
Yeah. She does. She's on the bus.
Because her name is like Maggie.
Or something.
Oh.
She's saying like Maggie something. So I don't know. Maybe she.
That's strange.
After she turns, maybe she chooses a new name for herself, or maybe she was named Josette the whole time.
Imagine that she's like, you know, I'm Josette, but like she's not, and then Barnabas is like you're not Josette, but I love you too.
Yeah, it is really strange. Another part that was confusing a little bit to me is like eventually it's like all the family has powers, right? It's like the mom knows how to shoot a shotgun, the daughter is a werewolf lady, and the son has like a ghost mom.
Well, he's had a ghost mom the whole time, but nobody believed him.
The ghost mom throws me off because there's a ghost mom and there's Josette, who's also a ghost.
Yeah.
And a lady. So I get them mixed up.
What do you mean you get them mixed up?
Throughout most of the movie, I was thinking, oh yeah, Josette's his mom. Because she's the ghost.
Yeah, the 200-year-old dead lady is his mom.
I wasn't thinking about the 200-year part. I was just like, there's one ghost lady. I only have enough room in my brain for one ghost lady. So when I thought
there can only ever be one of everything.
Yes, thank you.
One vampire, one werewolf.
I'm glad you understand.
Kid,
one witch.
Ghost.
Talking about the witch, what did you guys think about Angelique? Did you like her presence in the movie, her performance?
She is the definition of like petty witch, and I love it.
I love it. Gatekeep, gaslight.
She does such a good job playing like a likable but also very unlikable villain. Like you pity her because she's doing it because obviously she wanted him, but then she's like, well, you don't want me, you can't have happiness, nothing happy for you. And it's just funny because it's like, dang girl, like
very vindictive woman,
very like serious, and just like he like chill, like. So she kills his whole family, she kills the love of his life, and then turns him into a vampire. And people were like, you know, the Elizabeth, Michelle Pfeiffer, was like, I think that she doesn't hate you. Hate's a strong word. I mean, she kept you alive. So I mean,
but he's saying like that's even worse. You know,
I think it's a little bit of both. Like
torture.
Torment. She wants to torment him, but I think it's also like there is part of her that really does like have a lot of love for him, because I mean she still is like, we can still be together forever, and then
she rips out her heart, and then it crumples like porcelain.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. I do find her character very interesting. It reminds me a little bit of Jennifer's Body. Yeah. And just like how like, you know, confident, how much swagger she has.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And I think that she plays creepy very well too.
I agree.
Eva Green just does really, really, really well playing creepy.
What did you think about like the quote unquote sex scenes that they had?
Very funny.
In the movie.
Very funny. It's what I would imagine. Very, very intense business meetings, you know?
It's just so funny to me that like they destroy the room and they're flying every which way.
Yeah, and they both have like long nails, so they're just scratching things.
Everything's being scratched.
It makes me think of Twilight in a way.
Oh.
Because Twilight Breaking Dawn, part 1, when they go on their honeymoon.
There's a lot of scratching.
There's also that part where Barnabas is like crawling up the wall, and it reminds me so much of Edward crawling up the tree.
I was like, hold on tight, Spider Monkey.
I don't know what you guys are talking about.
The listeners know.
Hold on tight, Spider Monkey.
It just made me giggle because I'm like, just what I think about is Twilight. It's just ingrained in my brain. So I don't know, but it's not. I mean, I think they're funny.
One of the sexual parts that I like a lot was when she entombed him in a coffin, trapped him.
Oh yeah.
Before she dropped him off and shut the case for good though, she took off the panties she was wearing.
Yep.
In that moment, and just put it right on his face.
Hilarious.
And then freaking closed it.
And then he was talking.
Yeah, oh my god, that is crazy behavior.
It's just so funny.
That is insanity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, you have to support, because it's like the depths that she went to.
Oh my gosh, yeah, you're right.
I mean, I would never do that myself, but I think it's hilarious because it's like, that's dedication.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Like Michelle Pfeiffer said, a curse is devotion. Like that's devotion.
I mean, yeah, you're not wrong. And then the little boy is the one that opened it. He's like, why do you have panties on your face?
Hilarious.
Like, no need to worry about that right now.
I also just love the way that Barnabas talks in this movie. It's just so funny. It's just so funny.
I do. I'm telling you, I love the fish out of water thing, and because he talks fancy, it's funny.
How dare you place your wicked lips upon me? Like, it's so funny.
I like also too when he's leaving, like the ultimatum.
Yeah. That
she gives him, and he's basically like, "You can just kiss my ass."
Yeah.
Love that.
post exterior, whatever he says.
Yeah,
I love that he also calls her different like insults. He's like, you're like the whore of Beelzebub, succubus of Satan. And I'm like, he's got a way with words. Yeah. I would feel honored to be insulted by him.
That's literally what Angie says to him. She's like, nobody talks like you, Barnabas. I love that.
I wonder if anybody ships them together. I wonder if anybody ships them together.
I think they could wreak some havoc together, and it would be kind of cool. I mean, I also like to see. I mean, while I support the path of good, I also support the path of evil, and I like to see that play out too. So I'm sure there's fan fictions out there. I'm sure.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
But one of my other favorite lines was when because first of all, the soundtrack is phenomenal. I love the soundtrack in the movie. It's just great songs. During the Carpenters song "On Top of the World," love that song anyway. And Carolyn's watching it on the TV, and Barnabas is like, "What sorcery is this?" And then he strips the cord out, and he's like, "Reveal yourself, tiny songstress."
Yeah,
I just think it's so funny to me.
I love that kind of stuff. I love the part where he's reciting the Joker Steve Miller Band song. Yes, it's hilarious. But the way he says it, it does sound poetic.
I'm a sinner, like so funny.
Yeah, and that's what I love about the movie. Personally, we keep on the praise that we give it. I feel like is so deserved. And I think I wish it was just wrapped up in a tight little bow for me. If it was more solidly those things, I would enjoy it more. Maybe I'm expecting a little too much. Maybe, in comparing it to like Sweeney Todd that we covered last week, I feel like Sweeney Todd in a lot of ways is a tighter movie. Like we don't get a lot of distracted. I feel like
they had to be tight with that because that's a really long musical. So they had to shorten it all because if you put all the songs in there, that'd be like 2.5 hours.
I just feel like this movie interrupts itself repeatedly. And by the way, you're talking about it based off the musical. This Dark Shadows being based off the television show. It actually follows very like similar plot lines that were running through the entire show, which is really cool. So it makes me actually want to go back and watch the show.
It does make me want to watch the show. I also really enjoy Helena Bonham Carter's character, Dr. Julia Hoffman. We get to see a couple of different scenes with her doing hypnosis and her doing blood transfusions.
Do you believe in hypnosis?
No.
You don't believe in it?
No.
Okay, we'll have to take you to a hypnotist.
I'm scared. I don't do that. No.
Yeah, I thought you didn't believe in it.
I don't.
Then
it's the power that you give it, dude. I don't know.
It's don't give it any power.
Scary. Okay. Very scary. No, it's definitely really fun. And then, of course, we also get an inappropriate scene with her where she's like, I just want to be useful kind of thing. And he's like, I bet you were the most beautiful creature. And then she's like, and like does inappropriate things to him.
She says like, what does she say? She said like, do you know aware of a patient?
Are you aware of doctor-patient confidentiality?
He's like, no, would you like care to let me know what it is?
Enlighten me.
Yeah. And I guess then she enlightens him.
She's like, all right. And then you just see... Yeah. I'm like, no!
Man, everybody's begging to get some action from this Barnabas fella.
He's got the riz, bro.
Segue into something completely different. So her name is Hoffman, and the other like groundskeeper's last name is Loomis. So like, are they based on characters that are from the actual TV show, or are these original characters for the movie? Do you know?
I don't know those specific characters, but like most of these names are the same exact names that are being used for the television show.
And when was the TV show going on?
66 to 71.
Okay.
So it's definitely...
it's before all these things, but it's interesting to me that we have very iconic horror characters that we've already talked about with the last names Hoffman and Loomis.
Yeah. Hoffman is very recent. Loomis, though, we covered it in Scream. But it's a reference to something else, right?
Yeah. Loomis is a reference to Halloween, the original franchise Halloween.
What are we covering next, Carolyn?
Covering Halloween.
Yeah.
Which features Dr. Loomis.
Yeah, it's interesting.
He's one of my favorite characters in the entire franchise. So.
I'm very excited to watch it. But back to Dark Shadows. Did you have any favorite scenes, or did you have any criticisms? Like, I feel like I've been making it sound like this wasn't my favorite movie. I hated it.
Yeah,
it was
you're a
awful.
hater. You're a hater, bro.
What about you? Did you have any negative critiques about the film?
I mean, I like the use of obviously they use digital art in some forms here and stuff. I think that it works in some cases. In some cases, you could tell that it was, CGI and stuff. That would be my only complaint is we don't really get the practical effects feel like we normally do with
Tim Burton.
Mm-hmm. And not that that's necessarily a bad thing, because, I mean, you use the tools that you have, and sometimes for time constraints, I'm sure CGI might be a little bit easier to deal with than making something from scratch. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, all of the makeup was fantastic. All of the music, like I mentioned, the soundtrack's phenomenal. It makes me really feel like it's fall time in New England, and I love it because it's set around Halloween time, and we get Alice Cooper. Fun.
Alice Cooper, his performance in this, all of his like de-aging was done practically. It was all like makeup, and none of it. They didn't use any CGI to de-age him or anything.
He looks the same to me no matter what he does. Mm-hmm. He's always looked the same. Even now, he probably still looks the same to me. So I'm like, cool. That's Alice Cooper. I think that I love the humor. I think the humor is probably one of my favorite bits. Like, I really was shocked because it's been a while since I've seen it.
It's a funny movie. I mean, we were just talking last week about how we wish that Sweeney Todd was funnier.
Well, it's not that I wish it was funnier. It's that you don't get the feel of the humor that's there, because there's humor already written, but you don't get to hear the inflection and the right emphasis to really like grasp like that's a joke. So you don't get
this movie's pretty forward about it.
This movie's very forward about it, and I love it though. Like, I mean, for example, Barnabas having a conversation about how to court Victoria with Carolyn was probably one of my favorite scenes, because she's 15, and obviously that's problematic in today's lens, but it's like he's talking from his time period where women were getting married probably younger than that. He was telling her,
you need to go ahead.
He was like, that's a waste of good birthing hips. He's like, you it's just so gross, but it's funny.
You need to get married soon before your womb crumbles and dies.
Yeah, it's like that's not the way that it works. And she's like, what? But I just love it because he's like, oh, Victoria's birthing hips. Like, I'm like, stop. It's just really hilarious to me. They're talking about the Carpenters, and she's like, yeah, I mean, she's not really rock and roll, but I mean, something about the Carpenters. And then he was like, you're saying that she has a penchant for woodworkers. Yeah. Like, it's just really funny to me.
It is really funny.
Because it's just the way, like, the disconnect. Because he's like, I'm not with the times. And it's just funny to me. So, I mean, there's not really much that I can critique about it other than Roger Collins. I'm not really sure about his character. It seems like I can't tell if he actually is the father and he's just shitty, or if he was like, oh yeah, I don't really know this kid. Like, I'm just gonna pretend to be the dad.
No, like, I definitely got the sense that he's for me. I got the sense that he's a father. He just sucks.
I just don't feel like it was addressed very well.
Because he definitely lied to the girl. Even if he wasn't the father, he would still know who the kid was. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's just like it just felt like it wasn't really expounded upon. So I feel like there are some critiques there. Definitely some critiques with us getting Victoria's backstory later in the film. But I mean, it's very well done. Mm-hmm. But then again, it's like the rest of the movie's so funny that it's like, oh.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of what I mean. I personally like it coming later in the film, her story, but it does leave up in the air until then, like who Victoria is as a person. And that's what I mean about like the pacing and the slow start, where I'm just like, I don't understand anybody's motivations. I don't know why I should care about any of these characters yet. And it comes to me through their actions and through like what I mentioned earlier, like their chemistry and the charm just naturally. And I wish the movie like started off with that. Like, I think I would have enjoyed it more if it had that all the way through, where I feel like this is a movie I fall in love with. But like you mentioned, you called it a slow burn earlier. You know, it takes me a while to get there.
Yeah, my biggest critique in the movie is just Victoria's entire character, I guess, throughout the movie. It's not her character, I guess, but more like her storyline. Because we get introduced to Barnabas in his past at the very beginning of the movie. He gets tucked away, whatever. Then we get introduced to Victoria, and she is introduced to us as if she is like a main character. Like, yes, she is going to be like a driving force throughout this now present time.
Like another one of like the Tim Burton like main girls, just like
yeah. Like she is going to be there throughout the whole movie. Like, we're going to see her motivations, her drive, etc. And then literally for like the entire like 45 minutes of the middle of the movie, she's like not even there or barely there. Like, Barnabas is the entire focus. And I don't mind Barnabas being the focus because he's funny and he's cool to be around in the movie. But, like, why introduce Victoria so hardcore in the beginning?
Yeah.
If she's just going to be kind of like a throwaway. Like, there wasn't a whole lot of time for, like, their relationship to develop, which is kind of a trimmed.
That's what I mean by like that. I talked about that intro of like seeing her on the train and getting all these like big shots and like
nights in white satin.
Her getting to the estate, I'm just like, all of that could have been cut out for me because I'm did nothing. It was long. I was waiting for the movie to start, and this character wasn't even important until the end. And then by the time we actually do get to the freaking end, it's not even her anymore. It's Josette. It's not Victoria.
My thing is, it would have been nicer to see her story in the beginning instead. Like when we get this train scene, maybe we see her talk, like see the ghost, and we're like, oh, like I don't know. Maybe if the piecing were just done in different things. But I know that it's meant for a twist because you're like, oh, now we see, because she's like, oh, I'm meeting a friend, and we're like, who's the friend? And now we know who it is. But like, because like I don't know. So I mean, yeah, there are some critiques with the story. It's not well thought out, the whole plot.
Yeah. It's kind of a trend. I don't think that you can go into a Tim Burton movie expecting like the most high quality writing and narrative, but you're there for the vibes.
I will say the only movie
always good. The base of like the foundation of the story is very enjoyable all the time.
I also want to take this moment to mention that Tim Burton doesn't write most of the movies.
Yeah, he really doesn't.
He's just a director. So he's not an auteur like the other people are. He has his style, and that's what he's known for, and that's what he delivers through his lens or whatever. But something that Roger Ebert said about the movie, he's a well-known reviewer. He gave the film 2.5 stars out of 4 and said that Dark Shadows offers wonderful things, but they aren't what's important. It's as if Burton directed at arm's length, unwilling to find juice in the story. He went on to note that much of the amusement comes from Depp's reactions to 1970s pop culture, and concluded that the film begins with a great promise, but then the energy drains out. And I agree with that sentiment a lot, if I'm being honest with you. Like I keep saying, like this movie punches so good, so much. I connect with the characters. But there's just some, like talking about like it being at arm's length is right. And also like unwilling to find the juice in the story. The reason I bring up that Tim Burton doesn't like write all of these is because that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to, most of his works are adaptations. Yeah. I mean, this is an adaptation. The Addams Family stuff, that's an adaptation, and Sweeney Todd, that's an adaptation. He is trying to juice this for like what is good for him, what he likes out of it, and
what
like,
can he do differently for his art.
Yeah, what can he refine? And I feel like this movie it shows, and I hate to say this because I think the man's a great director, but it shows some like unnecessary tidbits, like I keep mentioning that little fight that they have at the end between Barnabas and Angelique.
Well, I mean, we need the big boss fight because
we need that for sure.
lead up to it.
But there's like certain parts of it where I'm just like, it's so unimportant. Like, what is going on? I feel like people are getting flipped, and like
I think it's for shock value ultimately, because I think it's beautifully done. I love it because like it's tense, and you're like, oh, what's gonna happen? And what's gonna happen? And then she's like, oh, we're gonna bathe in their blood, and it's like all of like the pictures start bleeding.
It felt like a Marvel movie to me at the end, and it's he's fighting her, and then like, oh, like Iron Man comes out, and I'm a wolf lady, now I'm here to save the day, and then she goes away, and then the kid, the next person, like fucking Black Panther shows up, and it's the boy with the dead mom, and he's.
I'm sorry, like you said, I really do think it sounds and feels a lot like a Marvel movie, and I think that might be because of the times. I wouldn't be surprised. If
I mean, literally,
the higher ups and executives are like, well, we need a big fight scene at the end.
I will say, I think this movie is also like inspirational in the way that like the way this movie looks and feels. This movie came out in 2012. I feel like this is around the start of that like indie teen movie kind of twang with like same like Warm Bodies. I feel like kind of looks like this movie.
2010s,
yeah, same kind of like pacing of like a teen indie movie. And so in some ways I could see this movie being, like you said, like a thing of its time.
Well, and also not to mention, like, here's my thing. I love what they do because like it freaked me out because of Uncanny Valley stuff. I don't like things that, are like statues that moved, any tropes like that freak me out. And like we have like these beautiful, it reminded me of Evil Dead, honestly. It felt like he kind of pulled from any Evil Dead kind of thing where everyone's like, oh, this is your house? And then like all these inanimate objects just start laughing. And I was like, this is very Evil Dead, and I love it. So it was very nostalgic to me in that sense. And again, I haven't watched Dark Shadow. Not Dark Shadow. Well, yeah, Dark Shadow is a TV show, so I really don't know. But to me, that really appealed to me. And then the whole idea of like these inanimate objects like moving off the wall. I don't know what to call them, like these pillars, whatever they were. I mean,
like wood carvings,
and they grab Barnabas. Terrifying to me. Like, I'd be out already. But like, to me, I think that was really cool and creative. And then the blood and stuff. I mean, of course, some of it fell flat. Not all of the scenes or not all of the pieces of the puzzle really fit. So, I mean, they could have shaved it down or done something different that would have worked better. But, I mean, you unfortunately, sometimes you just have to work with what you get. I mean, we've critiqued several movies on this film and several movies on this podcast. Like, I mean, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2.
Cult classic, though, Geraldine.
It's a cult classic, and I can appreciate lots of parts of it, but, you know, you work with what you got. And I think that's sometimes all that you can do.
I agree with you.
There's only so much you can.
Are you ready to rate the movie, Geraldine?
I think that it's still really beautifully done. I think that the colors are wonderful. The soundtrack was perfect. The vibes are there, and it's a good time. And I have a great time watching the whole movie. There's not a part where I'm, like, bored. I know that you feel differently, but to me, I disagree with the pacing critique. I think that the pacing's perfectly fine to me, but the narrative itself is what the issue is.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and get to rate and ranking this movie. This is one of my favorite Tim Burton movies. I have all these problems with it. I wish it was better only because I love it so much. And I give it a 9.
A 9?
Yeah. I love this one. It's one of my favorites.
I also had a lot of fun watching it. I would also give it a 9, I think. 9.
Mm-hmm. I love to hear that, Geraldine. I really do. Because this movie, like I keep saying, has so much heart. And I love movies with heart. You know, Beetlejuice, lots of heart. Sweeney Todd, not as much heart.
I mean,
Beetlejuice has just so much charm. I mean, between the Maitlands and their relationship with Lydia,
okay,
like there's so much. That movie has a lot of heartfelt feelings. And then in the sequel, Beetlejuice, I feel like it's also heartfelt in the sense of.
I had to like remember the narrative. I was like, where is the heart? Sorry, I know it's horrible.
And Beetlejuice, there's I would say even more just in generational, you know, the women in the family, and then also I feel like even Beetlejuice gets some love in that one and kind of expounds on his character.
There's some growth there for Beetlejuice.
Yeah, there's some growth there for Beetlejuice, and I feel like this one also exhibits that. I think my main critique is mostly just that it is a product of its time, and I want another one. Please.
I would love another one. I mean, Tim Burton, come on. You waited 36 years to do Beetlejuice. Just come on. Just go ahead and do another one. Just go ahead and do it.
So that makes our new rankings. Number 1, Beetlejuice. Number 2, Beetlejuice. Oh, I said it 3 times. Oh, my God. Number 3, Dark Shadows. And number 4, Sweeney Todd.
What a good season.
Good season. Don't worry, folks. We'll be getting to more Tim Burton movies later on, but we got to take a little interruption to cover some other franchises.
Yes, because we are approaching our spooky season. As you know, this is a great time of year, the most wonderful time of year. And so we are going to be delving into one of the timelines next season of Halloween. And as you know, listeners at home, there are many different timelines. And so it was very hard to pick which one to start with. But we are starting with Halloween 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6. And we are leaving out Halloween 3 because it can be a standalone film because it doesn't have anything to do with Michael Myers himself. We'll eventually cover it.
And the other ones too, you know, the new ones.
And the Rob Zombie ones and the new 2020 H2O timeline and the H40. There's so many timelines. It's crazy.
There's so many, yeah.
So we didn't want to complicate things and just watch them all in order of release because there's so many and we wouldn't have the time. Yeah, so
that's right.
But we're excited to start there though because I love him.
Icon, right? Mike Myers.
Oh yeah, Michael Myers.
He's never called Mike Myers, is he?
I don't know. I think sometimes they make that reference. So I think sometimes they may call him that, but mostly it's just Michael Myers. They call him by the full name or the Boogeyman.
Or the Shadow.
Or the Shape.
That's right.
The Shape.
Bailey, what do you think of Dark Shadows?
I really liked it. I liked it a lot. I think it's something that Geraldine mentioned this earlier, that she said that she could watch this movie over and over. I'm not somebody who can do that as often, I think, but with this movie, I think I could, just because the vibes are really chill. It's just funny to kind of like, you know, zone in and zone out of, and it's just a fun little ride. And I do have some criticisms for the writing and the pacing and things like that, but I don't think that it makes a big enough impact on the actual enjoyment of the film.
I think so too.
Me.
Out of 10?
Out of 10? Yeah, I think it's probably like an 8.5 for me.
Okay.
What do you have my ratings? I don't know if you have my ratings. Don't worry about it. I was just thinking, whatever.
I can listen for you.
I mean, we definitely should be better about tallying our ratings with you, just in case if we need tiebreaker, deal breaker.
I think maybe I have it as like an 8.25 because I think I'll put it at like an 8.
Okay.
Let's do an 8. I don't enjoy it as much as the Beetlejuice franchise. It doesn't mean that much to me, but I find it to be a very casual, fun little watch.
But you liked it better than Sweeney Todd?
Yeah, in the sense that, again, like it's more casual and I can vibe with it more. Sweeney Todd I did really, really enjoy, but that's more like a serious, I'm going to sit down and like really like, you know, kind of like analyze this. Not really analyze it, but just like pay attention to catch all the details. Whereas with this, I'm just like, oh, just throw it on. I'll have fun.
What about you, Geraldine? Are you surprised that we ended up putting Dark Shadows above Sweeney Todd? Do you think that was what you were expecting before you started the season?
I actually don't know. I don't think so, no. But I also don't really put a lot of thought into it.
Yeah.
I mean, when we had our own like rankings, I probably would have been like, oh no, we're going to be on different spectrums there. Because I mean, when previously we used to do separate rankings, which was a lot of work to remember and write down. Yeah. And now we were like, we're just going to do a unified ranking because it's going to be easier for everyone involved. I think then I was more aware of what my ranking would be. And now I'm just kind of like, okay, I was a little bit shocked at how low we rated Sweeney Todd, but I'm not like upset by it because like I mentioned, there's a lot of things that I would change about it, but it's still such a great watch and I love watching it. Like I don't hate watching it ever. So I don't know. I don't hate any of these movies, and that's something that we should also clarify every time as well, just because people are like, oh my God, it's the lowest ranked one on their rank list. That doesn't mean we hate any of them.
Or
ever.
Maybe it does.
It
doesn't mean it doesn't, but it doesn't mean it does.
I don't think we've ever rated anything super duper duper low.
Oh, there's been some that we'll have to go back.
We'll have to go back.
There's like
we may have to do a live stream and go back.
I can think of 4 off the top of my head that we ranked low.
Well, we ranked low just like in the list of the movies, but we didn't like rank low.
I mean, Texas Chainsaw 2 got our low rating. I think we gave that one like a 5.
I don't know. I don't think we did like anything like that though.
When
we didn't.
You guys did the original rankings for like Saw
6 had a bad score.
Yeah.
Saw 5 had a bad score.
When Hoffman was introduced, you guys hated. I'm never going to let you live it down. You guys hated those movies where Hoffman was introduced.
I was like, I fucking hate this guy.
We had not a super low score, but I think the Scream season had one episode that had a low score.
That was probably Scream 2. We both did not really care for Scream 2 as much.
Yeah, Scream Goes to College.
I mean, it's not bad. I don't dislike the movie at all.
Did you watch any of the Scream movies?
Yes, I watched like all of the Scream movies with you, and I knew.
Do you remember Scream 4?
Yes, I
love that one.
Literally, when you mentioned the Scream season having a low episode, I was like, it's gonna be the college one, and then it was.
Well, we'll see you guys next time. I'm so excited to cover Halloween.
Me too, especially for the Halloween season.
I've never seen them, and I know they're iconic movies.
I'm so excited to talk about them because obviously we are talking about movies that are made within the last 10 years and such recently. At least the last 2 episodes were like within the last, I don't know, couple decades. And then we're going all the way back again to the 1970s. So, woo! Time machine.
Yeah. Well, we'll see you guys there. I hope you guys join us. And yeah, we'll see you next episode.
See you next episode. I don't know what I was going to say.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Fright or Flight, a Live Oaks Village production. This episode was hosted by Geraldine Johnson and Saul Alberto Arizmendi Ochoa. Editing and music composition by Saul Alberto Arizmendi Ochoa.